And just like that, the dead period, the dreaded dead period is officially upon us. And we have to have an uncomfortable conversation today. It's not necessarily a fun one, but it is a necessary one, right? A necessary evil, if you will. Cowboys cut candidates as training camp nears, drawing closer and closer every single day. It's crazy. It seems like we're still, it's like you blink and you go from feeling like you're 3 months away still from the draft. And now it's just like, okay, we're a matter of weeks away from camp. Needless to say, the Cowboys are entering 2025 with a completely revamped roster in a lot of different ways. A lot of different position groups are there's a lot of turnover. All right. And then also a coaching staff to go along with that is setting a new standard with a new level of accountability accompanying that standard. It's a compete every day and earn every rep mantra, or just culture, if you will, right? That's the buzzword that's fallen on deaf ears now that we're trying to remove ourselves from, but sometimes it just rolls off the tongue. It's inevitable. Uh, for those who are new here or haven't met me yet, haven't interacted with me in any form, I'm Lando from the Lando Show, and this is Sports Below the Surface. Sports Below the Surface just means my ultimate purpose is to my passion, I guess, is to bring the truth for the true fan, the people like you guys who are here with me in the dog days of summer, the dreaded dead period, right? Talking Cowboys in the weeds, all the minor nuances and details. Unlike some of those other major networks, you turn on your television now, and they're talking about Dak Prescott's legacy or what's at stake, or could this be his last go around, when they completely disregard all of the facts, the contextualization that must be accounted for, like things as simple as contract figures and the salary cap details, right? You can't, the truth about Dak Prescott, that whole deal, they can't really move on from him. It would cost the Cowboys, it would absolutely cripple their cap situation to move on or part ways from him, at least after next year. That's when we can start having that conversation if we want to. But I think that fans, anybody who's having that conversation now, will quickly see into 2025, assuming the Cowboys can figure out how to run the football, which that's what Clayton Adams and Conor Riley have done. It's what Brian Schottenheimer has done two-time. His offenses that he called 2 times in his career thus far, various different stops, have been the number one rushing offense in football. The discussion with Voch Lombardi, the pendulum swinging back in favor of physicality, the Cowboys now tapping into that and pairing an MVP runner-up quarterback, the guy who finished second in the voting the last time he was fully healthy, now adding a second legitimate weapon, pairing with CeeDee Lamb, and being able to threaten every blade of grass, all parts of the field, but with the foundation of physicality first. That's the interior, the way that they're building themselves, okay? Now, got off on a little bit of a tangent there. The Cowboys cut candidates as training camp nears. Number one, and once again, this is just my opinion. Okay, don't take this as fact necessarily. Just me doing the best that I can to dig deeper, right? Take you guys below the surface, the sports below the surface, truth for the true fan, and just objectively evaluate everything. Damone Clark is candidate number one. All right. His leadership, toughness, and recovery story from the spinal fusion surgery are beyond admirable. But in a linebacker room now featuring Maris Leofau, Jack Sanborn, Kenneth Murray Jr., Samar James, it's been an injection of once again, new bodies, lots of turnover within this roster. That's 3 new guys right there, minimum. And not counting the arrival of DeMarvion Overshown in his rapid ascension into stardom prior to his injury. So he's coming back. And then, of course, you have Maris Leofau. Damone Clark is the leadership and the toughness, right? That's one of the things that I want to make sure is clear. But above both of those two things is the type of character that he possesses, because those folks who have, like, anybody who's familiar with LSU football history and tradition understands the significance of the number 18 for that program, right? That's the Walter Payton Man of the Year caliber guy, right? There's historical significance to that number. When you wear that, when you bear the 1-8 across your chest and on your back, that means something. Damone Clark did that. By most accounts, he would have been drafted much higher had it not been for an issue that showed up during the pre-draft process, to where he realized he had to have spinal fusion surgery. He Most people thought he was a day 2 pick. That was sort of his projection. Okay, round 2 even potentially, but the Cowboys ended up getting him in the 5th round of 2022 because of the injury. Right, so he's got a long climb to full health. After that MRI, the NFL scouting combine revealed a herniated disc that would require spinal fusion surgery. Just mentioned that. Okay, he eventually fought his way to a full-time starting spot. You may remember back in 2023, uh, the GPS tracking data, the first time he made his appearance in a football game, I think he had eclipsed the 22 miles per hour rank, which, if you remember from our discussion from a couple of days ago, and the one that we'll have, I'll touch on it again coming soon with Sam Williams, as more clips of him in practice are resurfacing, and the information about him getting pretty close to touching that 22 mile per hour threshold, as per next gen stats and information himself, right? But the top 5 ball carriers in 2024, as far as speed in miles per hour is concerned, only 3 of them eclipsed the 22 mile per hour threshold. Saquon Barkley had the 4th and the 5th fastest ball carrying times, and each of those were under that 22 mile per hour threshold. Damone Clark did that. He was pursuing a ball carrier. It was a long run. I forget, very early in his career, one of his, either his first or second game as a pro with the Cowboys uniform on. And he had logged that number. And I remember fans sort of just raving over a guy that's 6'3", 240 pounds being able to move that fast, right? And especially not a dude that's, well, I think at the time was 8 months removed from literal spinal fusion surgery. Pretty remarkable stuff. But tracking the situation closely, right? Just being, once again, objective and honest about it. You watch the film over the last couple years, and you sort of see Clark. And I want to be fair when I say this. It seems as if he never fully mentally cleared that injury related hurdle of willing to stick his neck in there, pun, I guess, intended or not. I don't really know. At the linebacker position, you got to be borderline reckless abandon, downhill thumping, clogging gaps, and head first, head on collisions in a lot of cases, right? The agility, the character, the toughness, those aren't questions. But if you have that subconscious doubt that's looming as a result of your issue, it's tough to get back to the level that you once were, regardless of your physical ability, regardless of what the coaching staff thinks of you, regardless of your own personal desire. Sometimes just that mental hurdle is too much to clear. And at times, for me, watching him play, it seems as if there was, once again, trying to be fair here, and I don't want to speculate, but my personal opinion, I see a reluctance to willingly place himself into those situations. The contractual element of this that makes, him even more of a cut candidate, regardless of what the play suggests, is the fact that he's due $3.3 million if he's on the active roster. The Cowboys were to cut him, they would save, according to overthecap.com. And I can actually pull this up for you guys if y'all want to see it. I'm sure Sometimes the visual aids help, so I'll do that here real fast. Let me go. All right, so if we go here, Damone Clark, overthecap.com, share this screen. You see these numbers right here, okay? This is the final year of his rookie contract, year number 4, 2025. The dead money, so they give you this really cool formula, or it's just their uh, part of their site. Dead money and cap saving. On the left is the dead money if the Cowboys were to cut him, and this figure actually you can filter this pre and post June 1. So this is currently set to pre June 1, but if you go ahead and filter post, since it's after June 1, obviously, that you can see that number doesn't change. So the dead money is minimal. It's next to nothing relative to an NFL salary cap and a team's financial situation. $60,000, it's nothing to a team. If they need a roster spot, they can cut Damone Clark and pay next to nothing to not have him there. Oh, but then you go and look to the right, and what do you see? $3.4 million worth of cap savings. All right. So, point being is if the Cowboys need the space, if one of these young guys, rookie draft pick Shamar James on day 3, guy that they brought in who's already familiar with Matt Eberflus's system, Jack Sanborn, Kenneth Murray Jr., who they traded for, Maris Leofau, DeMarvin Overshown's return is, or his trajectory based on his return is seemingly happening a little bit quicker. They need the roster spot for whatever reason. It doesn't even have to be from within the linebacker position. They want to keep 4 running backs. They want to keep an extra tight end. They want to keep an extra offensive lineman. They got a plethora of those guys these days. Maybe they want to keep an extra corner because of the uncertainty with their health and rehabilitation of Trevon Diggs, Siobhan Revel Jr., Andrew Booth, even, who's I think still overcoming an injury of sorts, and then Kalen Carson, who missed a ton of last season with a shoulder injury. So a lot of uncertainty there at the cornerback position. Maybe they elect to save that spot for one of those guys. We shall see. But needless to say, this is not the same. There's no longer the same coaching staff that drafted Damone Clark. There's a re-injection of a plethora of new talent at the position, and they could save $3.4 million if they were to part ways and pay zero, next to no dead cap penalty to do so. We know that Matt Eberflus is the linebacker whisperer. That's what he did everywhere he's been. He's had heavily productive, supremely talented players at the position. Maybe he's the one that can finally help Damone Clark get back to his pre-surgery self. We shall see. Candidate number 2. I know that was very long-winded, and we'll make these next 4 candidates here a little bit quicker. We'll go through them. We won't spend as much time. But there's a reason I listed Damone Clark first, because it's near and dear to my heart, just considering what he has overcome. I am rooting for him, but I'm just speaking from an objective lens and evaluating this entire situation from a business perspective, because at the end of the day, the NFL is a business, a money-making machine, right? And the Cowboys have to do what's best for them. But rooting for Damone Clark, just saying there's a world in which he's on the chopping block. See what happens. Candidate number 2, Tyrus Wheat. Another potential cut candidate, right? He had his shot last season, came amidst a plethora of injuries and opportunity in 2024, right? Micah was gone for a lot of that season. Marshawn Nealon missed almost the entire season. So on and so forth. That's the year after Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler departed. You got a ton of question marks and injuries and opportunities at that spot. And even still, Tyrus Wheat wasn't really able to produce or assert himself as hey, I'm here. I belong in this league as a rotational piece. There's a lot, much like pretty much every position that you'll see on this list that we discuss, but just referring specifically to the only one that we've already covered so far, the linebacker position, the Cowboys added 3 edges to the room this offseason. 3 new guys, right? Peyton Turner, former first-round pick. Dante Fowler, 10.5 sacks last year, a guy that they know very well. And then, of course, the most prolific pass rusher in college football in the country last year. 17.5 sacks. Second-round draft pick, Donovan Ezeraku. And then that's not to mention guys like Marshawn Kneeland, who we know was a ready-made bookend, strong side edge, a run-stopping, edge-setting presence, physical guy. Unfortunate injury last year. He's obviously in the mix. This will be really year 2 for him. And then, of course, Micah Parsons, right? So that room runs deep, and they're going to have some decisions to make as far as who they keep, who they cut. It's going to be a battle, and that's the thing is what I'm excited about is the way that Shotty and this entire coaching staff are operating, the way that they're speaking, the things that they're saying. Every like I mentioned at the beginning of the show here, every rep and every roster spot will be earned. That's a good thing. If you're a Cowboys fan, you like to hear that. You want to hear that. That's the way that it should be. And yes, we can say that that's a deviation from the recent norm. Last year, most fans, most media, most content producers, myself included, we sure about Zeke Elliott? I have a thumbnail that I can type in on Twitter right now. The Lando Show, are we sure? A Zeke Elliott thumbnail will pop up. I promise you. From around this time last year, are we sure that Zeke's roster spot shouldn't be, basically the premise was, is everybody going to get a fair shake? So, needless to say, Tyrus Wheat, 2 years so far with the roster, hasn't made his mark yet. But much like the linebacker position, much like the cornerback position that we're going to touch on in a second, much like the offensive line position that we're going to touch on in a second, Tyrus Wheat's got his work cut out for him. All right, that edge room, re-injection of talent, 3 new guys this offseason. It's crowded, it's young, and it's talented. So, chop and block. But I'm rooting for him. I want may the best man win, right? Number 3 at running back, and this is the one that's going to probably generate the most comments, the most, not necessarily hate, but maybe negative feedback or pushback, right, in any capacity. Running back Miles Sanders, cut candidate. Yes, I know. He ran with the ones during OTAs and minicamp. I've seen everything Nick Harris has put out. I've seen everything Patrick Walker has put out. I read it all. I'm well aware. And I admire the work that those guys are doing. And I'm not saying that I'm right, that Miles Sanders belongs on the cut candidate watch list or the chopping block ahead of Javonte, Deuce, Jaden, Phil, Lipke. Every single one of these guys, y'all have heard me say before, nobody is safe. But let me explain my case as for why Miles Sanders, to me, is the outlier amidst this bunch. Yes, he got all the reps with the first team in OTAs and minicamp. Yes, he's been reported by, I believe Aisha Morrison has said it. I believe one other person who was, maybe it was Aisha and Nick Harris, who both alluded to Miles showing the most burst so far out of the running back room. Could that just be the fact that he is the elder statesman in the room? His veteran prowess ascending, his grasp of the playbook, his understanding of where to be and how to be, how to conduct himself. Is it the veteran status, right? And his experience? 27 years old. Next oldest is Javonte, 24. So he's got 3 years on the next oldest guy. Still young by running back standards, but teetering along the lines or along the edge of that fall off. But is it veteran status or is it long term value? I don't know, right? Further, furthermore, this is sort of the scope, the lens that I'm viewing this from. We know what Miles Sanders is at his peak, and Miles Sanders at his peak is a really productive player. Okay, but market value is a factor here, but also rare traits, elite level traits. What do you have going for you physically or financially that nobody else in the room does? How do you separate yourself? What's your calling card? Or are you just sort of replacement level or average across the board with all of your running back related attributes? And can you be replaced? Are there thousands of other guys, not thousands, dozens, handfuls maybe of other guys just like you? I'm just asking questions. I haven't seen him yet. I don't know what he looks like. I'm only going off of reports. The reports are great. But how much of him standing out is just the acclimation period so far for Jaden Blue and for Phil Maffa, and then the rehabilitation period for Javonte Williams. Deuce Vaughn just seemingly being written off and completely overlooked. That's a mistake, by the way. And we're gonna discuss that here in just a second. But so here's the thing: Javonte Williams, that's the money back. He's making 3 times as much as Miles Sanders is making. That matters to an extent. Okay, he's also, I think, clearly the most well-regarded man in that room in pass protection, and he's the most proven pass catcher. I think he had 70 targets last year in Denver. Downhill runner too. So he's gonna play behind his pads, and he's going to get north and south. That's his style. So you got, let's just say though, in simplicity's sake, Javonte Williams, the money back. Jaden Blue, the home run ability. Phil Maffa, the physical outlier, literally, like not just for the Cowboys running back room, but for the entire National Football League at the running back position. Only a couple guys, James Conner and excuse me, Derrick Henry match his height and weight, like the bare minimum. 6'2", 230. It's a big boy. I think Saquon Barkley's close, but even he's not quite 6'2". You got Josh Jacobs that's like around that weight, but he's 5'11", 6 foot. Pretty sure. Let me double check that. Yeah, 5'10". 5'10", 223. Phil Maffa, 6. Okay, so Phil Maffa, for some reason, I thought he was 6'2". He is just shy of 6'2", but 6'1", 229. And James Conner is the closest comp. I remember doing the homework on this a while back, just as far as physical profile. James Conner, exact same height and weight, 6'1", 229. But that's pretty interesting, especially when you consider who the offensive coordinator is and where he was before this season with James Conner in Arizona. Okay. Needless to say, sorry. So I didn't even finish. Phil Maffa is the physical outlier. Javonte Williams, the money back. Jaden Blue, the home run ability. Deuce Vaughn's short area quickness, too unique to dismiss. And then Hunter Lipke, the Swiss Army knife, a guy, can play 3 positions really: running back, fullback, tight end. Where is Miles Sanders most unique relative to the rest of the room? It's not financially. It's not physically, as far as just sheer size. It's not short area quickness. Maybe he has more burst, but I don't think he has more burst than Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue's just getting acclimated. Didn't have more suddenness, short area quickness than Deuce Vaughn. just a good all-around quality NFL player. That means something. But you're 27. If the Cowboys are really in a pinch, they have to elect to keep, say, Phil, who's a rookie, draft pick, or Miles. One guy's 22, one guy's 27. We know what one guy can be. One guy has physical outlier attributes, one guy doesn't. Please don't take this as me as hating on Miles Sanders, guys. I'm just trying to view, this is how my brain works. And I'm trying to walk y'all through that, and I hope it makes some sense. You don't have to agree. And it's honestly okay if you don't. And I hope that you let me know if you do or don't. I would appreciate the feedback. It's how we get better. It's how we grow here. It's how we grow the community. And make sure, assuming that everybody's subscribed, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Help me get to 5,000. We're trying to make the push to 5K before training camp gets here. A few weeks away, and we're about 400 and change. So I know that we can do it. You know, the putting the bow on that discussion, Miles Sanders being the elder statesman in the room will certainly bring some value. But as far as his physical ability goes, he's not exactly unique to the rest of the room. This is going to be a fantastic and a fascinating competition to track. I can't wait for it. Rooting for Miles Sanders. Once again, may the best man win. Player number 4, Matt Waletzko. Shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, a name that's probably forgotten about by most Cowboys fans. Rightfully so. No disrespect to Matt Waletzko. Just another dude that's on borrowed time for just the sake of the situation, right? Once again, the injection of talent and let's just say resources into the offensive line room this offseason, a clear effort to get bigger, stronger, more physical. Every single person that was brought in here, from Robert Jones, Sadiq Charles, all the way to Tyler Booker, okay? Free agents or draft picks alike. Same physical profile. 6'4", 335, people moving types. Big boys. Hakeem Adeniji, same thing. I think he's maybe the slightest of stature of the rest of the guys that were brought in. Let's look. Yeah, 6'4", 315. So even still, that's grown man stuff. Right now, Matt Waletzko, a guy who was drafted for his rare athletic traits, right? The math bomb numbers, as you can see here, I'll show it to you. 9.96 relative athleticism score. This is back in 2022. 6'7", 312 pounds, 28 reps on the bench. A 91st percentile 40-yard dash, 96th percentile 10-yard split. So the get off, the first step is there. It's a guy you want pulling in space, you know, more of a wide zone, outside zone, run scheme type deal, more similar to that of like a Terrence Steele and even a Tyler Guyton. We're going to see some of that mixed in this year. But just injuries and a lack of development, it just didn't work out, right? It is what it is. He's played in just 11 games in 3 years, and now once again enters a packed offensive line room full of experienced veterans and up and coming prospects, right? Like Nate Thomas. That's a name that's starting to generate some hype in OTAs and minicamp. Awesome Richards, a name that's getting some recognition, maybe turning a corner as a player in OTAs and minicamp. A Johnny Cornelius, rookie draft pick. That matters. New coaching staff, okay? He has sponsors. Matt Waletzko does not. Just to name a few, right? And then that doesn't even factor in all the other guys that were brought in this year. Okay, the writing is on the wall. Once again, may the best man win, and I'm rooting for Matt Waletzko. Hope he can finally stay healthy, and maybe he can show something this year. And lastly, not least, Andrew Booth, former second-round pick. Cowboys took a flyer on last offseason. He struggled significantly when injuries forced him into extended snaps down the stretch in 2024. Cowboys then responded by drafting Savon Revel Jr., corner with first-round pedigree who fell only due to injury, and then also trading for former first-round pick in his own right, Kaiir Elam, who's now since been the talk of OTAs in minicamp, literally one of the stars of every team-related activity that's taken place thus far by numerous accounts. Every account that's been on site that you can think of with a credential, a media credential, has mentioned something positive about Kaiir Elam. It's a great sign. Simply put, it seems to me as if Andrew Booth's best shot at sticking is going to be simply tied to, just it sounds bad when I say it, but the health and the rehabilitation of other players. And maybe not necessarily his own personal performance. I could be wrong about that. I hope for his sake that I am. But from my perspective, this is the objective truth. Okay? The caliber than they were last year at every single one of these positions that we just mentioned. The pressure is building in terms of the expectation and the standard, as well as the competition throughout the roster, every positional group. Compete every day and earn every rep, or you're out. Something that is worth noting that we should all be excited about. It's going to be fun. A lot of positional battles that you're going to carry a ton of weight. I think me personally, I'm most excited just to watch the way that the running back room unfolds. As we know, that position more so than anything, and this is another deal in favor of potentially just like parting ways with Miles Sanders if he's not blowing everybody out the water, and if it's not him just running away with it as like the clear cut number one back. Once the acclimation period from the two rookies happens, once there's a better plan in place for just running the football in general, not just for Deuce Vaughn, but for everybody. Jaden Blue, Javonte Williams, Phil Maffa, Miles Sanders, Hunter Lipke, Deuce Vaughn, everybody. It's much more about the how than the who. Okay. I did see what Albert Breer apparently mentioned. I don't know when he mentioned it, but I seen that report, that rumor, whatever you want to call it, making its way around the Twitter streets, the Cowboys circles. He mentioned a setback of sorts with Savone Rebel Jr. There has been no such setback reported from anybody that I have seen. I've done my research since I saw that. I can find no such reports of a setback happening on the Cowboys' watch or since he's been a Cowboy. Maybe early on in the pre-draft process that occurred. Perhaps trying to push things a little bit too much, maybe a little bit overzealous as far as his own expectation for himself and trying to prove to teams that he's going to be okay. You get the pressure of the moment, right? Leading up to the biggest day of his life, everything he's worked for, sacrificed for, all that type of stuff, right? You get it. Sports psychology in play. We'll monitor that situation. But once again, Albert Breer is obviously plugged in. That's a well-respected dude, highly credentialed, highly informed. But we have, Cowboys country or otherwise, have seen no such reports under the Cowboys' watch or since he's been a Dallas Cowboy. All right, 33 minutes. That's more than I anticipated, but I hope that it was time well spent for you. I hope that you learned something. I hope that you enjoyed yourself, and I hope that you will come back, hang out, and see us again because we're not going anywhere. We'll get you through the dead period. We got plenty of a different variety of things to discuss here. And the next thing of importance that Foots and I will be talking about on Friday, I'm happy to report that we've officially settled that discussion as far as we know all this hype, all the glitz and the glam in the honeymoon phase of Brian Schottenheimer, his injection of energy and that C word again, culture, reinvigorating not just the fan base, but the entire roster, the entire organization, the whole building. Okay. What's it going to look like when he has to be the bad guy? When he has to discipline, when he has to crack the whip, get guys back in place, in line when they slip up? Does he have that in him? There's already a couple examples that to me suggest that yes, he definitely does, and we've already seen it. If you just know what to look for. Okay, but Foots and I are going to unpack that and a couple other topics. Let me actually just go ahead and tease it since we're here. My message to him, sort of outlining the discussion, the conversation, the way that I want to take it. The wide receiver 4 and 5 discrepancy, to me, will be run block ability. It will have less to do with what you are as a pass catcher, more to do with how well-rounded you are as a receiver. What do you bring to the field, to the squad, to the offense when you're not catching the football? One of my favorite quotes, Brennan Marion from his time at Texas, made waves when he mentioned sort of the moniker of the receiver position. What you do without the football determines how much you love your teammates. We're going to talk about that. Get Foots' input and his particular take on that specific situation. Are we asking Mazi Smith to do too much by asking him to be a attacking or penetrating mindset, right? That's Aaron White Cotton's philosophy. That's what he has said. That's not my opinion. I'm not just pulling that out of thin air. Okay. That's what got him in trouble when Dan Quinn tried to turn him into a pass rusher. So I want to get Foots' input, his take on, is there a discrepancy there between an attacking front and a penetrating front? Is there a discrepancy in his mind? And is he worried about that terminology as it pertains to what Mazi Smith is and what we hope that he can become in year 3? And then, of course, the slot corner, the cornerback conundrum with DaRon Bland. I just want to get his emphasis on that. Make sure I'm not crazy. I've obviously done plenty of work on that topic. I believe my most recent YouTube post here is actually on that same topic. It's about an 8-minute long video. If you guys want to go check that out, I think you would appreciate it. Just let me know your feedback there. But just want to get Foots' take on that too. We're going to unpack all that for you on Friday. Make sure you tap in with me and, of course, with Foots. And then remember that prayer changes, the war's already won. See you guys soon.